Hello everyone, welcome to Sam's Summaries. This episode is a deep dive discussion into Sam Fury's summary of Chapter 8 from the book The Only Cryptocurrency Investing Book You Need by Freeman Publications. It has been created with the help of AI. The chapter is titled, What's an NFT? You can read the original post at samfury.com.
All right, strap yourselves in because we are going deep on NFTs today.
NFTs.
That's right.
NFTs. It's a buzzy topic.
It is a buzzy topic, isn't it? And I think we've all heard, kind of the whole gamut of takes, right? Everything from this is the future of art and this is going to revolutionize everything to this is just like a scam and it's Beanie Babies all over again.
Yeah, tulips even.
Exactly. So where's the truth, right? Somewhere in between, probably.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to find out today. We've got a chapter from a crypto investing book as our guide for this deep dive. So if you are someone who is thinking about dabbling in NFTs, maybe you're thinking about buying one or creating one, or you just want to understand it better, hopefully this will be a good kind of cheat sheet for you as we go along.
Yeah, and honestly, a healthy dose of skepticism is always a good thing with a new technology like this.
For sure, for sure. So let's just start at the beginning. What is an NFT?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone throws around this acronym NFT, non-fungible token.
Right.
But what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so that non-fungible part is really the key.
Okay.
If you think about something like a dollar bill,
Yeah.
any dollar bill, I can trade you for another dollar bill and we're both happy.
Right.
You're both of the same thing. Effectively, those are fungible. They're interchangeable. But an NFT, it's like a one-of-a-kind piece of art, like a painting or a rare baseball card. It's unique. It can't be replaced with something that's exactly the same. And in the digital world, this is kind of a new concept.
Yeah, because the whole point of digital stuff, right, is that it's so easy to copy.
Right.
Like, how can you even have scarcity with something digital?
Yeah, that's where the whole blockchain thing comes in.
Okay.
Most NFTs are built on Ethereum,
Uh-huh.
which is a type of blockchain technology.
Okay.
And think of it like this. It's like a giant public ledger that's tracking every transaction.
Okay.
It's virtually impossible to tamper with it.
Right.
So when you buy an NFT, your ownership of that specific unique digital item is recorded on that ledger. And that's what creates that verifiable scarcity.
So it's almost like a digital certificate of authenticity.
Exactly.
Like if you were to go to a museum, and there's like a priceless artifact, there's documentation that proves its authenticity.
Right. It's the same concept, but for the digital world.
Yeah, so this is starting to make a little more sense now why this is not just a fancy JPEG.
Right.
But it's interesting because one of the things that our source highlights is that, NFTs kind of cut out the middleman in a lot of ways, right? Because if you think about it, with traditional art, you've got galleries, you've got auction houses, you've got all these different players involved.
Like all these gatekeepers.
Exactly. And NFTs, it's like artist straight to buyer.
Yeah, it democratizes the whole process.
And I bet that is really empowering for a lot of creators.
Oh, absolutely. It gives them more control over their work and their earnings.
Okay, so we're kind of starting to piece together now why NFTs are a thing, right? Why they're more than just, a passing fad or whatever.
Right.
But let's get to the big question that everyone has.
$1 million question.
Yeah, why are they worth anything?
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone pay, sometimes a small fortune for this digital asset?
Right.
What makes an NFT valuable? And I love that our source kind of breaks it down into these 4 key factors because it's not immediately obvious.
Yeah, it's not intuitive.
It's not intuitive. So let's go through those 4 and kind of unpack them a little bit because some of them honestly surprised me a little bit.
Okay, sounds good.
So the first one is utility, and this one made sense to me. Like the NFT isn't just a pretty picture, it actually does something.
Yeah, it has some kind of function.
Right. So give me some real-world examples of that. Like how does utility play out in the NFT space?
Sure. So imagine an NFT that acts as your ticket to an exclusive event, like a concert or a conference.
Okay.
Or maybe gives you special access to an online community or a group of creators.
Yeah, like a membership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in the gaming world, we're already seeing NFTs that represent unique in-game items or characters that you can use and trade.
So it's like almost like owning a piece of a video game.
Yeah. And that ownership is verifiable and you can potentially profit from it.
Okay, so utility, that one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
This next one is where I start to kind of get a little confused. It's the ownership history of an NFT. Like, does it really matter who owned it before you, especially if it's digital?
Well, think about it like this. If you had a painting that was once owned by a celebrity,
Okay.
it would instantly become more valuable.
Right. Yeah, there's a story there.
Exactly. There's a provenance to it.
Right.
And there's a similar dynamic with NFTs.
Okay.
If a well-known collector or influencer has owned a particular NFT, it can add to its desirability and its price tag.
So it's almost like that social proof?
Yeah, kind of like a digital bragging, right?
Interesting. So it's almost like adding that layer of coolness
Exactly.
and exclusivity.
Right.
Okay, and then there's this idea of future value, and this is where I think my inner skeptic really comes out.
Yeah,
Because isn't that just speculation?
it can be.
Like, how can you possibly predict what an NFT will be worth, 5 years from now or 10 years from now?
Well, you're right. There's definitely a speculative element to it, just like with any investment.
Mm-hmm.
But the key here is to look beyond just the hype and consider the potential of the NFT.
Mm.
What new applications might emerge for this NFT in the future? Could it unlock access to experiences or benefits that don't even exist yet?
Oh, so it's almost like betting on the potential of the technology itself.
Exactly, and the creativity of the community around it.
So it's not just about like what it is today, but what it could become.
Right.
All right, and then the last one is this idea of liquidity premium. And I'll be honest, that sounds pretty technical to me. So break that down for me. What does liquidity premium mean in the context of NFTs?
So it basically means how easy is it to buy and sell an NFT?
Okay.
Because most NFTs are built on Ethereum. Anyone with some Ether, which is Ethereum's cryptocurrency,
Right.
can trade them pretty easily. So the more liquid an asset is, the easier it is to cash in on it if you need to.
Yeah.
And that adds to its perceived value.
So it's kind of like, with stocks.
And
Like if you've got a very illiquid stock, it's hard to sell it.
Right.
And you might have to take a discount.
Exactly.
But if it's very liquid, you can sell it quickly and, get a fair price for it.
Right. It's all about accessibility and that potential for a quick turnaround if you need to sell.
So it seems like with all of these factors, there's still this underlying kind of tension between these objective measures like the technology, like the utility, and this very subjective human element, right?
Absolutely.
Like ultimately, someone has to want that NFT for it to have any value.
Exactly. That's the X factor.
Right.
You can have all the utility in the world, a great ownership, history, potential future value, and liquid market, but if nobody cares about that specific NFT, it's not going to be worth much.
Right. It's just like with art. People like what they like.
Exactly. Personal taste and what people are willing to pay can trump everything else.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, we've got these 4 factors now. Utility, ownership, history, future value, and liquidity. But how do you actually make money with NFTs?
Okay, so that's where things get really interesting.
Right, because, obviously this is a chapter from a crypto investing book.
Right. People want to know how to make money.
So spill the beans. What are the ways that people are trying to profit from NFTs?
All right, let's dive into that.
Okay. So we've got these 4 factors that contribute to an NFT's value, utility, ownership, history, future value, and liquidity.
Right.
But it sounds like there's this underlying tension between these objective measures and this purely subjective desire.
Yeah.
Kind of like with any collectible, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mix of art and finance.
Right. And that's what makes this market so fascinating.
And unpredictable.
Oh, for sure. For
Right.
sure. So we've talked about the potential upsides, but I think it's also important to talk about the potential downsides.
Absolutely.
Are there any red flags that people should be aware of when it comes to NFTs?
Well, yeah, there are definitely some challenges and risks to consider.
Okay, so let's dive into those. What are some of the things that people should be watching out for?
Well, one of the big ones is copyright infringement.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Anyone can right-click and save a digital image.
Right.
So how does creating an NFT actually protect an artist's work?
That's a great question, and it's something that the NFT space is still grappling with.
Okay.
Just because someone creates an NFT doesn't automatically mean they own the copyright to the underlying artwork.
So you're saying someone could potentially mint an NFT of, let's say, a famous painting
Right.
or a popular meme without actually having the rights to do so.
Exactly, and that's been a major concern for artists and creators who are worried about their work being stolen and exploited in the NFT market.
Yeah, that's a bit disheartening. Are there any safeguards in place to try to prevent this kind of thing?
Well, platforms like OpenSea are trying to address this by implementing stricter verification processes. They're also allowing creators to report and take down NFTs that infringe on their copyright. But it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, and the legal landscape is still catching up to the speed of technology.
Yeah, it sounds like we need a whole new set of rules for the digital age.
The current copyright laws were written long before NFTs even existed.
Right.
So they may not be fully equipped to handle these new challenges.
Okay, so copyright is one concern. What about the environmental impact?
Ah, yes.
I've heard some pretty alarming things about the energy consumption associated with NFTs.
Yeah, that's a valid concern because most NFTs are currently built on Ethereum, which uses a proof-of-work consensus mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
They can consume a significant amount of energy.
So, like, my digital art collection could be contributing to climate change?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
It's something to be aware of.
Oh, good luck.
But the good news is that there are efforts to make NFTs more sustainable.
Okay.
Some platforms are switching to more energy-efficient blockchains, like Tezos and Solana, which use a proof-of-stake consensus mechanism.
So there are greener options out there.
Yes. And there's also growing interest in developing carbon offsetting mechanisms for NFTs.
So we can potentially have our digital art and a clear conscience, too.
Exactly.
Okay, what other challenges should we keep in mind?
Well, because the NFT market is still relatively new and unregulated, it can be vulnerable to scams and manipulation.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
We've seen examples of pump and dump schemes where groups artificially inflate the price of an NFT only to dump it, leaving unsuspecting investors with worthless assets.
Yikes, it's the Wild West all over again, huh?
Pretty much buyer beware.
So with all these challenges and risks, is there still reason to be optimistic about NFTs?
I think it's important to separate the hype from the underlying technology.
Okay.
While the current frenzy around collectible NFTs might fade, blockchain technology itself has the potential to revolutionize many aspects of our lives.
So even if the market for, say, Bored Apes crashes and burns,
Right.
the technology itself could still have a lasting impact.
Yeah.
Exactly. Imagine a future where your medical records, your educational certificates, even your house deed are all securely stored and verified on a blockchain using NFTs.
Okay, now you're talking no more bureaucratic nightmares.
Exactly.
Sign me up. But wouldn't that require a massive societal shift?
It would, and it won't happen overnight, but the
Okay.
potential is there, and we're already seeing glimpses of how NFTs could empower individuals and create a more transparent and efficient world.
All right, I'm getting excited again.
Good.
But for our listeners who are still trying to wrap their heads around all this, what's one key takeaway they should walk away with?
I'd say don't get swept up in the hype. NFTs can be a great investment, but they're not a guaranteed path to riches. Educate yourself, approach the market with a critical eye, and don't invest more than you can afford to lose.
Solid advice, and remember, this is a constantly evolving space.
Oh, absolutely.
What seems like a crazy idea today might become the norm tomorrow.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. We're all figuring this out together.
Right.
And who knows what incredible innovations will emerge in the years to come. I, for one, am ready to be surprised. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
let's take a step back and kind of recap what we've covered so far.
Sounds good.
We started by demystifying what NFTs are, how they work.
Right.
Exploring those 4 key factors that contribute to their value.
Utility, ownership,
History.
future value, liquidity.
Exactly. Then we dove into some of the potential downsides.
Right.
Like the copyright issues, the environmental concerns, the risk of market manipulation.
All important things to consider.
Right. It's important to acknowledge those challenges, but we also touched on some of the incredible possibilities that lie ahead, like using NFTs for things like decentralized identity and secure record keeping.
Huge potential there.
It's a complex and rapidly evolving landscape, and it's one that's full of potential and excitement.
For sure.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Absolutely.
We're on the cusp of a major technological shift, and NFTs are right at the center of it.
Yeah, they're a key piece of the puzzle.
All right, so let's put on our futurist hats for a minute.
Yep.
We've talked about what NFTs are, how they work, the good, the bad, the ugly. But where is all this headed?
Yeah.
What does the future hold for NFTs? Are we all going to be living in, like, the metaverse, buying digital clothes for our avatars and, like, using NFTs to prove that we own our own thoughts?
Well, maybe not that extreme,
Okay.
but I think the potential is pretty mind-blowing.
Okay.
I mean, we're already seeing NFTs push the boundaries of digital ownership in ways that we couldn't have imagined just a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
Think about virtual real estate in metaverses like Sandbox and Decentraland.
Okay.
People are buying and selling digital land, building virtual homes and businesses, and using NFTs to prove ownership.
So it's
It's like a whole new frontier of digital property rights.
it's like owning a piece of the internet.
Kind of? Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, I can kind of wrap my head around, like, owning a digital artwork or a cool in-game item.
Right.
But virtual real estate, that's a whole other level. But it does make you think about this whole blurring of lines between the physical and digital worlds. Like, what happens when a digital Gucci bag, certified by an NFT is seen as just as valuable or even more valuable than a physical one?
Right. Well, that's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of how we perceive value in the digital age, right? Traditionally, scarcity has been a major driver of value, especially for luxury goods.
Right.
But in the digital world, anything can be copied instantly.
Right. Click save.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So NFTs offer a way to reintroduce that concept of scarcity and provenance to the digital realm.
Okay, so even if I can't physically wear that digital Gucci bag,
Right.
knowing that I own like the one and only verifiable original suddenly makes it way more desirable.
Exactly. It's like owning a limited edition print versus a mass-produced poster.
Okay.
And this has huge implications for brands, for artists, for creators.
Right.
They now have a way to create and sell truly unique digital items with verifiable scarcity.
Okay, that makes sense from like a collectible standpoint. Right. But, again, our source was very focused on NFTs as investments.
Right.
So is this whole NFT craze just a fad, or is there something more substantial here?
Well, I think the key is to look beyond the hype
Okay.
and focus on the underlying technology. Blockchain, the foundation of NFTs, is here to stay.
Okay.
It's about creating secure, transparent, and tamper-proof records of ownership, and that has applications far beyond just digital art.
So even if those Bored Apes end up being nothing more than a digital Beanie Baby craze,
Right.
the technology itself has legs.
It absolutely does.
Okay.
Think about the potential for NFTs to transform how we manage our identities and personal data. Imagine a future where your medical records, your educational certificates, even your driver's license are all securely stored and verified on a blockchain using NFTs.
Okay, so no more like carrying around your social security card.
You guys-
No more worrying about like identity theft.
Yeah.
That's the future I want to live in.
It's a much more efficient and secure system.
It's like giving individuals more control over their own information.
Exactly.
And cutting out all those like cumbersome bureaucratic middlemen.
Right, it's about empowerment.
Yeah.
And that's what gets me so excited about the future of NFTs.
Okay.
It's not just about speculation or making a quick buck. It's about fundamentally changing how we interact with the digital world and with each other.
But let's be real, this is all pretty mind-bending stuff.
It is, yeah.
For someone who's just like, dipping their toes into the NFT waters.
Right.
What's like the one key takeaway they should walk away with from this deep dive?
I would say NFTs are more than just a fad.
Okay.
They represent a powerful new technology with the potential to really reshape our digital world, but it's still early days. And it's important to approach this space with a healthy mix of curiosity and caution.
Couldn't agree more. Educate yourself, explore different use cases, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows what incredible innovations will emerge in the years to come?
That's the exciting part. We're just scratching the surface.
And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the one to invent the next groundbreaking NFT application.
That'd be awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to Sam's Summaries. If you found this episode useful, let us know with a like, follow, and share. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to visit samfury.com to get free access to all of Sam's original summaries, which you can download as PDFs, as well as other exclusive content. It's all completely free at samfury.com.